Every business, whether it is a manufacturing company, a software company, a hospital, or a retail chain, invests heavily in assets such as land, building, plant and machinery, furniture, vehicles, computers, and equipment. All these are assets that enable business to operate and generate revenue. But from the accounting perspective, several several important questions arise. What should be asset recognized? When 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 should be an asset recognized? Which cost should be capitalized and which cost should be changed to profit and loss account? How is depreciation calculated? What should be an asset be revalued? How should disposals, exchanges, and replacement can be accounted? The answer for all these questions is Ind AS 16, property, plant, and equipment. Answer all these questions. It lays down the principles of recognition, measurement, depreciation, derecognition, and disclosures of tangible and intangible assets, ensuring the financial statement presented a true and fair view of the entity's investment in such assets. This is going to be complete Ind AS 16 master series. Since the standard contains several practical concepts and installations, I will cover into 2 to 3 parts or 4 parts depending on the length required to explain such a topic properly. Therefore, I strongly recommend that you watch every part in sequence. Skipping any part may leave gaps in your understanding because each video builds upon concept discussed in the previous one. By the end of this series, you will have a strong conceptual understanding of Ind AS 16 along with practical examples, general entries, and exam oriented discussions. Whether you are preparing for a CA intermediate, CA final, CMA, CS, or ACCA, CPA, university examination, or working as a financial professional or auditor, this series is designed to help you understand the standard from fundamentals to an advanced level. An important disclaimer: this series is prepared purely for educational purpose. Whether every effort has been made to explain the standard accurately and in line with the previous of provisions of Ind AS 16. Students should always refer to the SSA material for their further doubt. So, without wasting any more time, let's begin our journey of mastering Ind AS 16 property, plant, and equipment. First of all, what this standard covers? The standard covers the recognition. First, we cover the recognition criteria. The recognition, how should we recognize property, plant, equipment, and the initial, what are their initial cost and their subsequent cost. There are two costs while here recognized. Initial cost means when we incur the asset the first time, and the subsequent cost will come into the picture after recognition. Like once you have recognized PPE, and then you can check whether all these costs are any additional capital assets has been incurred or not. So this is how it works. And then measurement. After this, we will add measurement after recognition. What are the elements involved in those costs and how that measurement is involved? What are the measurement at recognition? At recognition, we can should what costs are involved in it. Post that, what are the how the measurement after recognition? After recognition, which involves whether you follow cost model or revaluation model, and how would we depreciate those at depreciation method, depreciation procedure, depreciation period, depreciation amount. All this has been described in the PPE. And also impairment. How with this impairment? For this impairment, we have separate standard also there, but in the AS 16 is reference for that standard. And also, what are the nominal value situations if you measure into the PPE? And then how would we recognize and when and how to recognize these PPE? And also disclosures. What are the disclosures involved in this? All this, uh, the overall standard is covered all this concept. So without wasting our time, you please conclude this video before you start. So first we start recognition and then measurements and then post measurement after recognition by this series. So disclosures also I will did explain, And in the end of the video, I will also explain differences or carve in and carve out of the AS 16, sorry, AS 16, in the AS 16 and international standards. So if you understand this, you can able to answer your questions in a local in accounting standards level, and also Ind AS level, and also international standards levels also. So if you are working in an US based company, this will be helpful to standard the procedures of that company as well. So I hope you understand this concept. So if you observe the main recognition criteria, first we need to see the scope. What is the scope of the Ind AS? I already explained the scope is uh, included. What is the definition of the Ind AS first? What is the definition of PPE? PPE it should be an intangible asset. Once it is PPE, it should be an intangible asset, and then sorry, it is a tangible asset. PPE means PPA is a stand. First is it should be a tangible asset, and also expected for using more than one accounting period or one cycle, whatever it is. And also it should held for use in the production, supply or rental or the administration purpose. This is the exact definition what they give in the standard. So PPE means PPE should have three conditions. If you want to account some particular transaction as an PPE, it should be in three. It should follow the definition. First one is it should be a tangible asset. It should be tangible item. Intangible items are separated in a separate standard. Say suppose intangible assets are accounted and under Ind AS 38. So that is the separate standard. So all tangible items covered in the, under this standard, and expected to be more than one accounting period or one period. Expected to use more than one cycle or period or accounting period, whatever. But they said expected to use more than one period in the definition. And then held for, held for means if you use that asset as in the production basis or in the supply or in the rental purpose or in the administration purpose. Production means it is a plant and machinery and all. In supply means there is marketing events or any stores replacement. There are some supply agents, some machines and some vehicles to transfer one business to one business. Those are supply materials. And then rentals means if you buy one building and give rental purposes. So you have a building and you give that building on rental basis, so that is also covered under PPE. Also administration purpose, all these ACs, furnitures, all these are. So India has covered all topics. I hope you understand till now. And then you one more important concept here is like the supply should be in more than one accounting period. I mean expected to the second condition. Expected to use more than one accounting cycle. What is an accounting cycle first? What is an accounting cycle first? The accounting cycle means it's like, say suppose you purchase goods here. Say you purchase goods here in day one, and day third you start process. Then they study that process, and day 10 or after 3 months you produced one finished goods, and then you sell that goods in the sixth month, and then you collect that amount in the ninth month. So here in this example I have taken 9 months period to complete the cycle. So this is the one accounting cycle. If you are a tangible item use for this more than one accounting cycle. It means if you buy any item, that item should use more than this accounting cycle, at least 9 months or 1 year or 3 years, at least more than, at least if you use at least for 9 months, no, that would not be PPE, you cannot because you cannot value them under PPE if you use less than one accounting cycle. So if you want to account a PPE, you should be use that asset more for more than one accounting cycle. So some businesses, few businesses will take time to collect from initial stage to final receivable stage, or cash collected stage will take 1 year or 2 years or 3 months. So your expected PPE or your item of PPE, property of plant or what is the equipment, that should be more used more than one accounting period. Then only it should be capitalized. Generally we call 1 year, because if you use more than 1 year, it should be accounted as PPE. Then only it will become in our old level fixed asset, not in current asset. So if you use less than the accounting period, that will become the current asset only. If you use more than one accounting period, that will become PPE. So I hope you understand this concept. What is PPE covered? It should be held for administration purpose or production purpose or supply purpose or rental purpose or or any business purpose. And then tangible assets only, because intangible assets are covered under separate standard, and then expected to use more than one accounting period. So this is the concept of definition of PPE as per Ind AS 16. And what does not include? What does not include? Tangible assets does not include. Another standard requires permits to respective Ind AS different treatment. So say suppose intangible assets are treated in separate standard. Say suppose lease agreement, lease asset or investment property. Investment property, what we call here, land also as an investment property as per Ind AS 40. So in those situations, you should not consider land because of the tangibility. You can't consider that as PPE, because land is an asset, tangible nature, but do not have a depreciation value for the land. So that is why those assets as covered in Ind AS 40. So because of that, you should not consider that land into the PPE item. So again, held for sale, PPE held for sale. If you held for sale, if you put in sale position, if you want to sell the PPE, that should not be an PPE. Then under Ind AS 16, you should cover that in Ind AS 5. And also biological asset. Generally, biological assets are not PPE items, but one exception is there. One barrier plant, if it is a barrier plant, there should be an biological asset. There should be an PPE under biological asset. If it is a biological asset, it should be covered under PPE. I will explain why. Because all biological assets are exempt from PPE, but except barrier plant. Only one barrier plant is covered under PPE. So if you have a barrier plant in your production, so that barrier plant would be then property, plant and equipment. All biological assets are not an PPE items except because these are used for agriculture product and expected than more than one accounting period, and cannot sell as an agriculture produce, expected as a scrap. So you should understand what is the biological asset and the barrier plant. Barrier plant means, the best example for barrier plant is mango tree. If you plant a mango tree, so this tree will you can use for more than one accounting cycle, condition satisfied, and it is tangible, condition satisfied, and this is held for production process, condition satisfied. So because of three conditions satisfied, because, and it is not a biological asset. Biological asset is, I will explain biological asset in the accounting standard in the separate agriculture produce there I will explain. uh, and the most important concept is this: can't sell as an agricultural produce except scrap. So you will sell the mangoes here from this mango tree. Say suppose in example 2, you take sugar cane. You cut this plant and sell as an produce, either sugar or rubber or jaggery, whatever it is. After the production process you will sell this to, this is covered as an biological asset. Sugar plant you can say as biological asset, because you can or else teku. Teku means paper trees, what we call some rubber factory trees. If you want, you want few trees uh, to manufacture rubber, right? Those plants they cut itself as a manufactured produce. So the tree itself became agriculture produce, that become, that is not an barrier plant, that is an biological asset, then it is not covered under India AS. Only trees which produce fruits or flowers and which is used in more than one accounting period should be become as a PPE. So I hope you understand this. And then last important point is like exploration and evaluation or mineral rights or river resources of any oil or non-recognizations. So these are covered under Ind AS 106. So these explorations and mineral rights and reservations of eventual oils or non-recognized criteria, all these covered under separate standards. So we should not cover them in the Ind AS 16. I hope you understand the scope of this standard. Then we'll go to the next part. I already told you that what is the recognition criteria. For in Ind AS, before we start the initial cost, we should check the what is the recognition criteria now. The recognition criteria in, if you have an PPE, and if it satisfied all these conditions of definition, that is which is more than one accounting period and tangible item and used for production, administration, selling of goods or rental purposes. If you satisfied all these conditions, then you can see what is the recognition criteria. The proper economic future economic benefits will flow to the entity, so they should be used for business purpose only. And and cost can be the future economic benefits to the flows to the entity, and cost can be reliably measured. Cost can be measured reliably. So if you satisfy these conditions, if you satisfy these two conditions, you should recognize them as an PPE. So if any transactions happen, say suppose you bought one item for 200 rupees. So if you check first, you should check, is it covered under the definition? What is the definition? It is a more than one. It can be used more than one accounting period, and it is a tangible asset, and it is used for production or administration or selling or rental purposes. If that item satisfies this definition, you should check that is that uh, cost is reliably. I mean, 200 is the reliable. I mean, we can able to measure that based on the invoice. Then, and the another condition is that future probable economic benefits of that entity must flow to the entity. Say suppose by using this asset, you can able to sell the product, your future economic products. I mean, and it means the main purpose is like you should use this and for business purpose. You should not use this for personal purpose. Say suppose if you use this item for employees related activities. So there is also because employees will work for the company, then that will cover under the PPE. But if you use for only production process, not for the business personal process, say suppose one proprietary company is there and it is used for any personal businesses, personal purposes, or held for any use for unauthorized or unapproved process. Those are not covered under this. So the future probable economic benefits of that entity, the future economic benefits of that item, the PP what you bought would be used for business purpose. Then only it will cover under the PPE. Otherwise, it will not cover under the PPE. It is the initial recognition. I mean recognition criteria. If you buy any spare parts or standby equipments or serving equipments. Once you, if you bought one machinery, it will worth of 3 crores. So for this machinery, you bought few spare parts or standby equipment or any serving equipment, say some sonars, or there are a lot of, for 3 crores item you should have minimum tools and equipment set. So if you bought this kind of any spare parts and all, no, then for these also you should check recognition criteria first. What is the recognition criteria? This recognition criteria, the future economic flow to the entity and cost can be reliable measurably. So if you able to measure all this cost reliable, no, then you should treat this as an PPE. But if it is not able to reliable measurably and the future economic benefits should not be able to ascertain at this point of time, so classified as an inventory. This part should be classified as an inventory. So this is the big plant and machinery. So these spare parts and all these equipments, what are the tools and all, if we able to match them under the recognition criteria, then we can account those items as PPE. I will explain how we account and all in the further slides, but just want to tell this. But you should not measure them without this. Without this, you should not bypass this recognition check for these small parts. Or even though if it is spare parts, standby equipments or service equipment, you should check this recognition criteria before you recognize the item as an PPE or inventory. If it is in PPE under Ind AS 16, you should be satisfy these recognition criteria conditions. Then you can recognize. Otherwise you can treat them as an inventory. I hope you understand this recognition criteria. I am just giving screenshot for your reference. So just what is the recognition criteria? The PP should be future economic flows and can be resolved measurably. And then if it isn't spare parts and what are the other standby equipments or service equipment, though for them also we should check the recognition criteria, the same conditions. If we satisfy these both conditions, then again we can treat as an PPA. Else we should classify it as an inventory. I hope you understand this standard. I mean, I hope you understand this recognition criteria. Then we will go to the next part. What is the next part? Unit of measurement. Just now I explained, right? Spare parts and tools, whatever it is, those how will be taken. We can based on the judgment of the entity specific circumstances, we can so if you buy tools, they like the proper number of tools, one, two, three. There are thousands of tools used there, right? You can aggregate those all those aggregate individually. If they are if they have insignificant item, say suppose all these 1,000 nuts or bolts will come to the one box, and there are few different measurement of boxes there, and their size 20, 32 to and then 200 sizes are there. We don't know, right? The plant which is we are using, which bolt we will get used in future. So in these situations, if you feel these are I mean, as for the entity circumstances, these recognition criteria has been satisfied for those items, then you should, if you accounted as PPE, then how should we value this PPE? The unit of measurement. So based on the if you feel all these are appropriate and able to measure in the individual item, you can recognize 200 separate PPE items. So it is not possible in always, right? So you cannot plant one, plant two, like you can recognize, but the tools or any insignificant items would be there, right? Even though if you satisfy PPA definitions, you can, but you can aggregate individually if you feel any insignificant items at the time they incur. I mean, at the time we purchased that, we can account this all this as an one aggregate item. So we can merge the item. We can account as tools as one PPE. In these tools, all insignificant items will be there. See, all these are applicable when it meets an PPE definition. If you feel the bolts will also use for another purposes also, and then say suppose while you producing any, there are 10 to 20 machines and 300 to 400 finished goods, you can use this bolt either for item of pp or item of inventory. In those cases you can mark these tools as an inventory. So based on the your circumstances, entity circumstances, you should feel the unit of the measurement. Like if you want to value for item 1, item 2 and item 200, or if you want to value this item as an tools and modes or dice and separate pp item, or you can fill these all the inventories. So based on the significance and the circumstances of the transaction, you should judge this uh, unit of the measurement for the particular transaction or item of uh, uh, entity, if you I mean entity of purchases. So with this we completed few recognitions and all, and then next part of this video is like initial cost. What are the initial cost? Before we go, we measure in them, we should check the what are the initial costs of the ppe. The cost at the time of the acquisition of the asset, like we need to consider all indirect benefits. Say suppose chemical manufacturings or chemical manufacturers items are generators or unheld or backup, unused or backup assets. So we need to check or also disclose future economic benefits to an entity of an PPE or any other item, existing items also. It means, see, you are constructing one plant, or if you were plant and machinery, you bought machinery for 3 crores, and there are some direct labor and all costs at the time of acquiring the asset, like we consider all indirect benefits and G&A, which is acquired to build this plant and machinery, and then direct cost, direct labor, and then the software staff, testing staff, which is required to build the assembly for the intended use. Until this intended use, we should measure all these costs, and also chemical manufacturings if any. So if any chemical machinery is required or mechanism is required to check these the oils and this, that's also concluded. And also generator used for this process. While we creating this plant and machinery, we could have used some generator cost, and we put idle, we put generator in idle position if we use that uh, generator in a power loss situations. But that idle time for the depreciation of the generator also considered for this plant and machinery. And also unused or backup or any other so we didn't use those assets. Say suppose some welding machines are there. For building these plant and machinery, for manufacturing this plant and machinery, we should have used these machines also. So the depreciation of these machines also considered as an ppe. I mean we should calculate item. Say suppose 3 crores is cost, and then direct cost are another 50 lakhs, and although in the indirect cost are another 20 lakhs, and also non-cash expenditures are 10 lakhs. All these like 3 crores 80 lakhs would be the cost of the ppe. This is how we measure. I'm just telling the definition as of now. While we going the while we going to the next topics, you will understand all these topics clearly. So initial cost, they are telling that we should consider all at the time of acquisition of an asset or any plan internal construction of an asset. We need to consider all indirect benefits also. There is one standard one to tell us. And then what are the subsequent costs? Once we recognize the ppe, you should have subsequent cost, like day to day you can recognize, or else you can do major inspections, or you can do replacement of them parts or items of an ppe. So how should we account this? We will do in the next classes. So for time being I am stopping this video. I mean we'll continue the subsequent cost and these asset economic, I mean the example of the subsequent cost, and then with practical example and the measurement items, all this will do in the next session. Thank you for your information, for your time. If you feel we are putting minimum efforts to explain few concepts for students, please subscribe our video and also share or like and give to your friends as a reference to understand the concept. Thank you.